Well, light, that is, understanding who I was, really kind of came to me. It took several years, a few which I've shared previously. But after I came back from that South American trip, with especially these guilty feelings, I was confronted with having to meet a life insurance salesman. Very briefly, I called up New York Life Insurance and said, hey, I need to make some adjustments in my life insurance policy. And they said, great, come on in and we'll make the changes for you. I said, no, I don't want to come into your office. Well, we'll send out one of our agents. No, I don't really want to talk to your agents. Let's just do it on the phone. Mr. Chester, business like this has to be done in the presence of an agent. Okay, send him out. Behind all that was I didn't want to talk to any life insurance salesman. I had too much life insurance at that point. But anyway, this guy came out, and he had previously called and said, let's go to lunch. I was standing in the foyer of the company where I worked, talking to a couple salesmen, and in comes this dapper-looking guy, a real clothes horse. And he just had the makeup of an in-your-face type of salesperson. And he walked up, he said, hey, I'm looking for Bruce Chester. And I said, that's me. And so he introduced himself. And very quickly he said, let's go to lunch. But before we do, I want to ask you a question, Bruce. Are you a Christian? Well, the two salesmen next to me turned on their heels and they were gone in a flash. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, what's this all about? But I thought, well, I'm going to answer him. So I said, I am a Christian. I was christened when I was an infant. I'm a member of a church in Champaign, Illinois. I got a letter that says I'm a member in good standing, in fact. And I'm an American. Yes, I'm a Christian. And he laughed and he said, I'm not talking about that kind of Christian. Let's go to lunch. So we did. I don't like guys like him. I never liked those kind of guys. He was pushy. That's the way I viewed him. He may not have been. But I felt like he was kind of pushy. And he was a typical sales type guy. But I was a sales type guy too, so it was kind of odd. But we go to lunch, and the luncheon lasted 3.5 hours. And what shocked me was I don't remember eating, and I don't even remember saying anything. And my recollection is I just sat and listened. This guy had a little New Testament, and for 3.5 hours, he just walked through verse after verse after verse. And it was strange because normally I would have turned off that kind of conversation. I would have said, excuse me, I have to leave. I didn't have any feelings of wanting to stop him. I didn't object to anything he said, though I didn't understand much of what he said. I was shocked to find myself engaged at some level, even though I have to admit I didn't understand a lot of it. But here's what's interesting. There were 4 things that man went through. And it startled me when I began to recollect what he had said. The first thing is he talked about loneliness. Now, he didn't know anything about me. He didn't know me. He knew nothing about any past experiences I'd had. He talked about loneliness and how all of us are lonely because of our fallen nature. We need to have friends. We need somebody that loves us. Well, his answer to that was Jesus Christ. And he made quite a case, and he quoted verse after verse. The second thing he talked about was guilt. And he said, everybody's guilty of breaking the 10 Commandments. So he asked the question, do you know anybody that's ever kept all 10 Commandments? Well, the first one says we love God above all else. Well, I didn't love God above all else. He talked about stealing and lying. Well, I'd stolen stuff, and I had lied. I listened to him, and I didn't. What startled me was I wasn't angry. The things he said, I I didn't reject. I didn't throw him back in his face. And he said, guilt can only be overcome by Christ's death and resurrection. So here's this Christ stuff again. Christ is the one that helps with loneliness because he sticks with you closer than a brother. Christ is the one who died a substitutionary death and rose from the dead so he could forgive us for the sins we'd committed. And the third one was really significant. He said, most people don't really have meaning in life. They don't know what their meaning is, what their purpose is. They do all kinds of things. Man, I'm thinking about myself. I wanted to travel. I wanted adventure. But there it was in that steel mill. And he knew nothing about that. Who gives a damn whether these frogs can roll steel? Who cares? All of a sudden, I'm thinking, how does he know this stuff? He's speaking to my experiential being. Well, to make a long story short, he throws in the fourth one. Each one of those things he brought up, the solution was faith in Christ, faith in Christ, faith in Christ. The fourth one really caused me to think. He said, everybody's going to live forever. Everybody's going to live. We live even after death, whether we go to heaven or whether we go to hell. Everybody's going to have a body and live forever. But the choice as to where we spend eternity is ours. But he said the wonderful thing is Jesus Christ makes it possible for us to choose for our own well-being the best choice. I didn't object to anything. I wasn't upset by him. I didn't say much. I left that luncheon, drove back to my apartment, and I thought about all those things. I couldn't make any sense out of it. But that's a story for another time. I'll join you later.